Hello and welcome back to my channel, Bookish Lady Night, where we get a look behind the book. Today is a very special episode. There's something quite powerful about a story that grips you from its very first sentences, one that doesn't just unfold on the page, that almost seems to materialize around you as you're reading and lingers long after you finish it. This was the exact thing that happened to me when I read this book. It was recommended by my friend, and I am obsessed with it. So today is a very special episode because I am joined by Cortney L Winn, the author of Vesselless. And today we're going to get a look behind the book about how she came up with the stories and her as a writer. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Yes, I'm very excited. This world, I don't know, you have kids, so I'm sure you've probably seen the movie Paddington, the first one. Have
I
you seen it?
haven't. No.
You need to watch that with them. So in the
Yeah.
movie, there's a scene where he was his family was known by explorers, and the explorer created a video of his time in Peru where he was. And so as the scene is playing on the screen, he's remembering his home in Peru. So as he's sitting there watching the video of it, it starts coming off the screen and like building around him and the room that he's in, sitting on the couch watching the movie of his home. And that's what I felt like when I was reading this book from like the first moment. Like I could see the little bits of her room like come in and around me, and like it was so cool.
Oh,
You did
thank
such a
you.
phenomenal job. So
Thank you.
where did you come up with this story?
Oh man. Well, the first inklings of inspiration started after I read Serpent and Dove. It's
Okay.
nothing like this book. Have you read Serpent and Dove? Yes, it's not really like this book very much at all, but that was what inspired me to write fantasy, because the only other book I wrote before this was kind of more of a sci-fi romance, thriller-ish, speculative fiction, and so I read Serpent and Dove, and I was like, "I want to write something with magic." And so I started writing about whole other characters, and it wasn't until, like, chapter 6 where I introduced Nazara, and I was trying to balance all these storylines within the realms, and I was like, "Oh, it's getting way too big." So I cut out all the other storylines and just did Day and Nazara. It's in writing fantasy is so funny because if you change one thing, it's a domino effect, and you have to, like, accommodate the world to fit that element, and so that's kind of just what happened with Vesselless. I would want something in there, and it would ripple effect throughout the whole book, so yeah.
That's
I'm
really
I'm a
great.
pantser. I have, like, a little bit of an idea of what I want the story to have, and the rest, I just figure it out as I write, and then, there's a ton of edits that come with doing it that way, but that's my style. Yeah.
On that. But first, for those who have not picked up this book yet, which why haven't you? Go do it now. Can you give them a little like intro of what the story is about?
Um, yeah, so the shortest pitch I have is it's like spicy Casper with magic. The little bit longer pitch is so the FMC's dad killed the king and stole his throne, and 10 years later, that king is a ghost now, and he comes back. He makes a deal with the god of death, and the god of death is like, if you want your freedom, you have to go and capture the FMC's soul. And so that is kind of the pitch of the story.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
Thank you.
So within that, where you said you had, this really expansive amount of stories and characters and world, do you think that we're going to see more of that in later books in this series? Or is it just going to still be kind of honed in on their story?
I don't think we'll see like the other characters that I had originally wrote, because their stories are so expansive, and this is looking like it will be a 3-book series. Don't hold me to that, but, and there's just no way I could fit them in 3 books, but I don't know if they'll ever resurface again. One of the characters who had a POV and was a big part of the story was Lek. I wrote a lot of his POV in a different realm. He had like another girl that he was kind of thinking of, and so like his whole backstory is on my old computer. So There's
That could do like a spinoff. That would
some
be really cool.
maybe one day, but not immediately in this series.
Yeah. So when the story first came to you, which came first? Was it the characters, the concept, or like the overall arc of what you wanted to tell with the story?
Um, well, so first it was the first character that came in was Nazara, and her first chapter actually was where Pracy is holding the golden dress for the rave.
Hmm.
That was originally the first chapter and where she came in. And Zara in the very beginning didn't know how to use a dagger. She couldn't fight. She was really girly. And I realized it wasn't working for the story. So I gave Leah all of those girly elements and I swapped and made Nazara what she is. So I mean, Nazara was the first kind of on the page. What came next was I wanted to do a spin on, like, in Forest Wing, how Violet bonds a dragon, and that's where her power comes from. I was like, what if and this was actually I was writing this before Fourth Wing, but there's a lot of storylines with that similar, you bond a magical creature and you make power. But I was playing with like, well, what if the creature you're bonding with is your love interest? And then it just like I'm like, well, what kind of creature would you want to be a love interest with? And I was like, zombies wouldn't work. Because that would just be kind of strange. So then it turned into a ghost. And then the very next thing that came into the story that I really helped flesh it out was the end scene. I won't spoil it, but that end scene with Nazara and Day and her father, I wrote the whole book for that scene to make so yeah.
There's another book coming, but at the end of that book, I was like, "Oh my golly." That was I mean, it's a cliffhanger in a lot of ways, but it wasn't as brutal as some authors can be with their cliffhangers, like, because we know what that you're gonna bring us another book. So some books, they just end and you're like, "Is there gonna be another book? Was that it? Like, is there anything left? I am not
I
okay." So
I actually had a lot of people, message me asking if there's gonna be another book, like, they thought that that was just the end of the story, and I was like, "No, that's not the end. I would be a jerk if that was the end."
I know. I would have had a different saying if it was ending that way, but I had met you at the Barnes and Noble and you'd said it was gonna be you were working on the next book. So I was like, okay, I'm okay. I'll be okay. I don't know when it's coming out, but I'll be okay until then.
I'm actually finishing up the very final edits of it. I have 3 days left on my deadline for edits, so that's what I was doing before I hopped on the call.
Ding. I can't wait. I cannot wait. So what's your favorite types of scenes or chapters to write when you're writing?
I love banter, like the play on words. When writing a scene that doesn't feel very important at the time, but upon a reread, you realize it had double meaning.
Mhm.
Um, those are really fun when you're like your wording at surface level looks like one thing, but then once you read the book and you look at it again, you're like, oh, that means something totally different. I'm hoping you find a lot of those in book two.
Yeah. I found a few in here and I was like, I had to like, because I listened to it on audio and I like rewind it. I was like, wait, and I did it again. I was like, okay. I was like, that's something important. I need to remember that. And then I kept going. But you have a lot of that like hidden Easter eggs throughout the story that if you don't pay attention, you're gonna not maybe necessarily miss something, but it makes it all the better when you do get to that scene because you're like, you get that little flashback of something you read. So then on the flip side, what are the more difficult scenes to write?
The connecting scenes, like bridging the important scenes together. I've noticed that that's one thing that in my edits that I'm going through. I'm like, oh, I need to connect those thoughts together, and I need to connect these days together. So yeah, that probably is my hardest
Yeah.
and least fun to write is just main like those in between and the middles and all of those like between the punchy scenes.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that from other authors that that's not always the fun part, and so it's, like, a little bit daunting to get through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there a moment in the book that, without giving spoilers, where it, like, kinda hit you a little bit harder when you were writing it? Like, was it a certain kind of emotion or a certain kind of feeling that you weren't expecting that you got after finishing it?
With book 1?
Mhm.
Yeah, so in my final so I indie published it to begin with, and then when it went trad, we did a whole 'nother round of edits, and then during that whole other round of edits, I don't know why, but the scene with Nazara's mother um, in the ring, that hit me so hard for some reason going through those edits, and I was just bawling, and I'm like, "Nobody else is probably gonna cry at this, but I am sobbing right now." So, yeah, that one was one it was unexpected, I don't know what it was, just that day, that time, and I was just kind of rehashing her lines from the indie version, and, yeah, that one was the one that got me.
The flip side, was there one that you kinda, because you do have some scenes where they're kind of a little bit funnier moments, especially between the 2 of them with their, like, banter back and forth. Was there one that you were kinda chuckling to yourself? You're like, "Oh, that was really funny," or, "That was really good. I really nailed that."
I'm trying to think. I know there was banter in book 1, but for some reason, just like so in book 2, you get to see Lo's point of view and her and her spirit. Um, their banter, I was giggling to myself the whole time. Like, I felt so dumb. I was just like in here giggling, and my husband was like, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm not that funny, but I think I am." Just giggling with their banter. So, like, yeah, there was, like, some scenes with Day and Nazara that I, like, thought were kind of funny, but, like, it's a whole 'nother ballgame with, the spirit's name is Coco, so Coco and Lo, and, when you read those, just know that, like, I cut out so many jokes because I was just going overboard with it. They just kept coming to me, so I loved that one.
Did any of the characters really surprise you when you were writing them? Or, like, maybe they didn't have as big of a role as you thought they would originally, and they kinda took you by surprise?
Lo's journal was the very last pieces I added to the story as I was writing, and it was because Nizara needed a way to get to know Dagon without knowing that she was getting to know Dagon, if that makes sense. So Lo's journals were written as like a window into who Dagon was. That Nizara could kind of start to sympathize with him and care for him. And then she finds out, so yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't know that, like, you saying that now, I'm thinking, "Wow, that's, like, such a crucial part of the story, and that was the last thing you added to the story." It's just so interesting to see, like, where you start with a draft and where you end with it, and to know, like, all that came at the end, and it just flows so perfectly in the story.
Thank you. Yeah, like, I had to listen to the audio, a couple times as I was writing, book 2, and as I was listening, it was a different experience and, like, a whole 'nother year that since I had written and edited that story, and it still surprised me how much I liked and cared for Lo when she had such a small page time in the book, so, she definitely surprised me.
With the audiobook process, like, did you get to hear them or any kinda info about them or put your 2 cents in when they were picking the narrators?
Yeah, so, like, I had done a collab post with, Emerald Frost Designs. She did, like, a little book trailer for me, and Brandon Francis was the voice on that trailer, and
Mhm.
he helped me do a couple collab posts for the book, and everyone was really excited about his voice, and so I asked my publisher if we could look at him, for the role of Dagon, and they're like, "Yeah, we would." They offered him the role. There was no, like, audition or anything. They're just like, we agree that's a great choice." I didn't really have, any real preferences for, Nizara. Toward the end, I had one female narrator that I threw at my publisher, and they're like, "Well, we already, gathered a list that are pre-approved, and we'd love if you'd go through this list." And so I went through the list that they sent me, and I picked, Samantha Brentmore, and I just love and adore her, and that was the narrator process, so they were really great to listen to my opinions and kinda go with what I felt was right for the book.
Yeah, I liked how she did her voice, like, because 'cause I've listened to a lot of her books, and I was like, "I know it's her, I can hear little bits of her in there, but it totally doesn't sound like her. It sounds like a whole new person that she's created for this character." So it was really cool to hear that.
Yeah, I found myself like, I loved all of her voices that she did, but I think her voice for Lo was my favorite. Like, every time Low would come on, I was like, "Oh, I could listen to Low all day." But I loved all the voices she did.
Listening to them and them together. Is there ever a moment in the story where, a lot of for like indie authors, because you don't have a traditional publisher behind you. You're really your own kind of cheerleader, except for maybe your family and friends. Was there ever a moment when you were writing this where you're like felt like you just wanted to kind of give up, and like how did you get past that?
Um, yeah. Like, so I at the time that I wrote this book, I was a full-time student. I was a stay-at-home mom. I'm not sure if ever those have kids. You can't write when the kids are awake. It just doesn't work. And I did schooling at night, and so in order to kind of fit this hobby, which it was at the time, into my life, I had to wake up at 4 in the morning and write before anyone in my house woke up for the day. And there was a lot of times where I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, this isn't going to go anywhere. This is just a hobby. But I kept telling myself, like, it will only be a hobby if I don't show up every day. And so I really wanted to finish the book, see where it went with, like, I had experience, querying a book. Like, the very first book I ever wrote, it wasn't edited, it was really cheesy in it, and it read like an author's first book, and I was in the query trenches for that. And this was kind of like, I really want to try one more time, and this was the book that I was gonna do it, and yeah, I just every morning my alarm would go off, and I would just, like, roll out of bed and then just believe in myself.
Yeah, yeah, it's really amazing. I remember you were talking about it. You were like writing it on your phone. I was like, that's incredible that she wrote on her phone. Like I couldn't even think of writing a book like that. I would feel like it's so hard doing, the steps, but I'm like, it's amazing that you kept doing it and persevering.
I actually and there's a lot that I like about writing on my phone. Not the full book, 'cause that's a lot, or, like, but, like, when I first started this book, like I said, I just had a newborn baby, and, he wouldn't sleep through the night at all, and my 3-year-old wasn't sleeping through the night at all, so between the both of them, I was up all night. He wouldn't let me put him down, so I'm, like, holding him, and in order to stay awake, I'm like, "I gotta do something or I'm gonna fall asleep." So I just had my phone, and, it's turned into, like, if you have Word, you can have the app on your phone and your computer, and any changes that you make on your phone also update on your computer. So it's really convenient to go back and forth, and there's not a whole lotta, um problems. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I like the phone. And it's funny. Huh? I was just saying it's funny the things that you catch when you're seeing it on a different screen. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. You just a different environment, different size, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't notice that before." Delete.
Yeah. It's very ingenuitive of you to do it that way and like, make it work, like, and figuring out a way to do it and still, care for your kids while you were having that moment of like stay awake. And I get that. I have two special needs kids and one of them is medically fragile. So there's a lot of time like I'm like, stay awake. Don't like put toothpicks in. Don't let your eyes
Oh my
droop. Like
gosh.
how I did that.
So you know.
Were any characters more difficult for you to write?
And Nazara was actually trying to balance her as a character. I wanted her to have certain things, and then that would make it hard for her to have other things. Like, I wanted her to be really kind of dark and struggling with power in a bad way, but also make her empathetic and caring and likable. So she was kind of tricky for me to write a little bit.
Yeah. So then on the flip side, was there a character that kinda just fell onto the page and was really easy to bring forward?
Low. Well, I don't know what it is about Low, but every time I write in her point of view, it's the easiest thing in the world. She just has a personality that jumps at me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I like her personality. I'm excited that we get to see more of her in the next book. That'll be very fun, I think, because I would like to see the dynamic between the 2 of them and, like, how they play off each other. Because I think it's gonna be like that, like, sibling back and forth. It'll probably be really fun to see on the page, so I'm excited for that. So did you always wanna be a writer, or was it just, like, something that was on your list of, "Oh, I'd like to do that one day?"
Yeah, so I made a bucket list of things that, like, because I didn't know what my passion in life was. I didn't really have a hobby that I was like, "This is my jam." Like, I saw other people just, like, get really into scrapbooking or baking or what have you, and I didn't have one of those. I was like, "I don't have one." So I made a list of things to just do and try in my life, and on it was, like, I make cakes, like, decorate cakes. I was a cake artist for a few years, like, I did weddings
Oh.
and, I mean, I had other things on it, like photography, and, I owned a boutique, like an online clothing boutique once because of this
Mhm.
list. Anyways, so writing a book was on this list, and it was like, I don't even care if it's a good book. I just wanna say that I wrote a book, and that will just be my cool little tidbit of information about me one day. But then I really fell in love with writing. Like it sucked me in and it wouldn't let go. And I read, well, listened to Aragon as I was pregnant with my last child. And it really inspired me to know that Christopher Paolini was 13, I think, when he wrote the book.
Yeah, he was like younger
Um,
teens.
and I don't know why it planted a seed in me along with my love for writing and this passion that was building, and it was the perfect storm, and that is just what sucked me into the book world. That book also reignited my love for reading. 'Cause in middle school, I was a big Twilight fan. I read, like, the Pretties, the Uglies. I even read Aragon back in middle school before the rest of the series was finished, and so I was, like, finishing the series in my adulthood. So, yeah, it was just a combination of those things.
So, what's been the most profound or surprising thing you've learned as a writer on your writing journey that you didn't really expect?
How much, like, personal growth I was going to go through in this author journey. There's so much that I learned about myself, and I learned about others, and I learned about just this community. Just it can be hard sometimes, but, like, so wonderful. And so, just I learned a lot about who I wanna be as a person, and a writer, and an author, and how to be a part of this community.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. It was
I
it
love
was
that.
a learning curve. Like, I just dove in back when X was Twitter and the whole writing world, like agents and everyone was on Twitter. Like they would do Twitter pitch events. They would do like Rev Pit and all these writing events. And back then I had just this idea like, well, if I want to write and be in this community, Twitter is where I need to be. And so I joined Twitter and that's where I found like all my writing friends. And
Mhm.
Twitter kind of disappeared and I ended up more on
Is that oh
Instagram.
my god, this community is so amazing, like, the people in this community are so kind and thoughtful and so caring of people they don't even know. So, it was just I
Yeah.
love that's my biggest thing about this community, I love them so much. So
This community is like a second family. Like, I don't know if you follow my Diet Coke
yes,
funnies. I don't know, like,
yes.
from the beginning of my, Instagram, I've just, like, posted my love for Diet Coke because I always have one. Like, I can always post content about Diet Coke because it's always right next to me. Um,
Yeah,
but I have a favorite glass cup that I drink it out of. Like, I don't know why, it tastes the best out of this specific glass
yeah.
design, and I had a set, and one by one, like, through the moves of moving houses and whatever, they, like, slowly died out being broken. I was down to my
Yeah.
last one, and I left it on the back of my husband's truck because I was drinking it outside,
Oh,
and it
no.
shattered, and I posted on my story the remnants of my last glass cup that I loved, and I had multiple people send me full sets of replacements for those cups, and I was just like I was floored at the amount of support and heartfelt, like, gestures that came from this little thing. Like, I was actually crying because it was just one of those moments where you're like it just was a heavy day anyways, and then
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
But yeah, to
And
ec
they always come at that right time, right? It always shows up right
yes.
at that moment when you're having a hard day. Like it's like the world's like way of magic. It like whatever you're having like a really bad day, something like that will like show up in the mail and like help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
to echo your sentiment, the book community, there is nothing like it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. So, if you could go into a time machine, or let's say a portal, because you do fantasy, if you could go into a portal and go see your younger writing self, would there be anything you tell yourself knowing what you know now?
Oh my gosh. I don't know, because I feel like if I knew things back then that I know now, I might have done things differently, and then it might have changed my trajectory.
Hmm.
I feel like I've learned a lot of lessons, like, just with I really don't know. Mainly, I guess, not to read Goodreads reviews, maybe? Like,
Yeah.
that was one thing within like, when I did my trad edits, I had some reviews that just really stuck in my head, and it altered the way that I edited the book, and that, to
Mm,
this day, is one of, like, my biggest regrets that I have at all with my
yeah.
writing, is letting a review affect my edits, and so now I don't really look at reviews even if I'm tagged in them. I might, like, hurry and like it and then just move on, but, like, as much as I love the support and being tagged, it's not that I don't love it, it's so yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that would
it
probably
can,
be the thing.
yeah, it maybe like messes with your headspace, probably.
And it's not even like if it's not even negative. Like I had like readers will tell me their favorite character or like questions or theories like in their little reviews and it like can alter the way
Yeah.
that like I originally planned. And it's not that it
Yeah.
was a bad thing at all, but I was like I want to stay true to kind of what I was writing or am writing, which is it's really hard not to when you have like
It's like a little
yeah.
bird in your ear, like, "Oh, add more of that person," or, "Oh, let's see more of that." And then you kind of get off of the plan that you were like, no, we were supposed to go over here and now we've gone over here. So, yeah. So, while you're on this trip back in time and you see your younger writing self, what would they think of you or say to you seeing where you are now? Do you think they would be proud, surprised? What do you think their reaction would be?
Very, very surprised. I remember when I was very first finished with the book, and I had a girl comment on one of my posts saying like, this book will be sold in many countries one day," and I was like, "No, it won't. It's just a silly little story, you know, that I just wrote because I loved it." And yeah, now it is like I would have never thought that it got to where it is.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So, when people finish reading this book, what message do you want them to walk away with after finishing it?
That everyone has darkness inside. Like it there is no light like good or bad. It's all shades of in between, you know, like different
Mhm.
degrees. And I felt that way with Nizara's father. Like I know that he was an antagonist in this story, but I wanted it to feel like there was still little pieces of him that felt likable, you know, like he did still care about Nizara even though he had his own demons and was a bad guy on the page. So yeah, like everyone has the darkness within them that doesn't negate the hope that you should feel or the light that is also in you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good message. So, in your opinion, what makes a great story?
Well, I have the answer that I actually got from when I read Save the Cat, and it's a book about story structure and it tells you kind of how to write a book. But the underlying message of that entire book is one word, and that one word is why. Like, why does the character do this? Why is the world this way? Why is this thing so important to this character? What does it mean to change how would it change their life in a positive way that they are willing to do this and go through all
Mhm.
these obstacles to get it or whatever. The biggest part of a story is the why. Like your character's reasoning for doing things. Everything. So I guess that is my answer is why.
So I thought we could do a couple fun questions and a little bit of a would you rather. I have a couple games.
Okay.
But my first question is if all of your main characters went on a trip together, who's gonna start the causing the chaos first?
Low. I know my
Well,
answers are always low, but she's definitely the maniacal one. Like, she is the one
yeah.
that's going to get everyone in trouble.
Yeah. I like her. She's really great. So these are would you rathers, and this is the author edition, and I have character confessions, which you'd answer as if you were your character. So for the
Okay.
would you rather, prefer a physical book, an audiobook, or an ebook?
This one's so hard because it's like picking between my favorite desserts. I like all of them
Yep. Yep.
for different
So
reasons.
why choose?
If I Yeah, that's why choose really. But if like you were forcing me to choose one, I think it would be ebook. And I don't read on a Kindle. I like read on my phone. Because I
Okay.
always have my phone with me. My phone fits in my pocket. If I'm at the doctor's office waiting to get seen, like I can read my book without, I don't know why, but my kids and everyone in the world around me almost like lets me be if I have a phone in my hand. But if I have a book, my kids are like, "Whoa, what's that?" If I have a book, then the people are like, "What are you reading?" Like, which like I like answering those questions. But also a book isn't is practical to carry around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I literally have a library. Like I can choose any book from my phone, no matter where I'm at. So I think if you made me choose, it'd be ebook.
Gonna be ebook. Okay. And then if you did have a physical book, do you prefer a hardback book or a paperback?
Hard back all the way. Like, it is yeah, so, like, I read this is my process to get into the story. I listen to the audio until I'm, like, invested in the story, and then I switch to ebook because I like to see the words in front of me, and I can read more often than I can listen, and then after, I buy the shelf trophy, and I buy the prettiest edition of that book that I can find, and it's a hardback, and then it goes on my shelf. So there's
Yep.
my answer that you did
You
full
sound like
answer.
me. I'm the same way. I love
I like to
hardbacks,
support the
hardback
author.
everything.
Yes. Well, they last. They are more durable, so, like, when you move
Mhm.
and
Yeah, and they're also a lot of the time, those are the ones that get the sprayed edges and get all the pretty features are the hardbacks, so I always
oh,
gravitate to
yes.
those. Yeah, I
Yes.
love that. So then this one might be painful. People have told me I'm mean with
Like,
this question. So would you rather crack the spine of a paperback or ruin the dust jacket on a hardback?
ruin the dust jacket on a hardback. Like, because then I still have a book that's in perfect condition. The hardback like, the paperback or the dust jacket I can throw away, and the book is still
It's
nice.
still
It's not
intact.
broken or damaged. But if you crack the spine of a paperback, then you put it back on your shelf, and it's still cracked.
Yep, yep,
So
that's
I
true.
actually have had to throw away dust jackets before because they get damaged in shipping, and it, like,
Uh-huh.
makes me so sad every time, but what do you do?
Yep, yep. So do you prefer the first line or the last line when you're writing?
The last line
Okay.
the first line is always really hard for me, like, you have to set an entire, um, diving board. You have to it's a diving board for the whole entire book. It's so much harder, there's so much more pressure, so, yeah,
Yeah,
last line is my
yeah.
favorite.
Okay. And then do you write with music or no music? You need silence.
Writing is with silence, but brainstorming is with music. So if I'm walking, I'll listen to music and I have to have it to brainstorm through the book, like plot points and
Okay.
stuff.
All right. And then as far as tropes go, do you prefer, and this could be as like you reading a story too, would this be slow burn or instant chemistry?
Slow burn. I
Okay.
like both. I definitely like both, but if I had to choose, it'd be slow burn.
Okay.
Like,
And then enemies to
yeah.
lovers or friends to lovers?
I really like both, but I think I can read more enemies to lovers. And friends to lovers is more of like the special occasion, like sweet treat aside from the enemies to lovers, but I love both.
Okay. So I have a follow up on that one. Enemies to lovers
Okay.
or lovers to enemies?
Both. I like, like in Throne of Glass, they become lovers and fall to enemies, and I like the flow of
Yeah.
seeing both.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like it takes a little more storytelling to. weave character arcs in such a way and in such a believable way.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
answering the question, how can enemies become lovers? And then how can those lovers again become enemies? Like, I feel like that takes a lot more planning and scheming to do. So I find that really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you could pick, we'll do this fantasy edition, which maybe we should add one of your I'm gonna change this question slightly. We're gonna add one of your characters in there. So if you could
Okay.
choose vampire, werewolf, or ghost, if you could be any mythical or like magical being, what would you be?
What kind of vampire are we talking about? Like Twilight vamp?
Whichever you've whatever pops into your head. There's no limit on it.
I kinda like ghosts. I think it would
Ghost.
be fun to, like, haunt people. I think
Yeah.
I would be a ghost. I mean, vampire would be close second.
Close second. Okay. And then would you rather be able to time travel or immortality?
I think I would time travel. I think I would get bored living forever. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, time
Yeah.
travel.
And then do you prefer a hard magic system or a soft magic system?
To read or to write?
Both. Either or.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I feel like I truly love them equally. But okay, to read might say a soft magic system because usually, not always, but that's usually a sign that it's taking a back seat to another plot point, like a romance or a
Uh-huh.
mystery. And I would probably say writing also a soft magic system.
Okay.
So, but I
Okay.
enjoy.
All right. So now in your life, is your typical writing day still getting up early and taking time writing, or what does that look like for you? Do you have like a routine that you do every day to get into the mindset?
Yeah, so I still wake up early in the morning. I graduated with my degree, so I don't have school at night anymore. So after the kids go to bed, then I work on writing again. So it's at the beginning and end of my day. It's the first thing I do and the last thing I do is writing.
That's awesome. Congratulations on graduating.
Thank you. Although I will confess, I have been hitting the snooze button all lately, and it's been closer to 5. I wake up finally and get out of bed. Yeah, if you're out there, don't ever, ever press the snooze button. It is a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I will
Yes.
attest to.
Yes. It's the gateway to not getting things done. I am very guilty of it because I've been trying to get my routine back to getting up early and it's hard.
It's like to start cold turkey, waking up at 4 a.m. is easier than it is to try and reel back your
Mm.
snoozes. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the word, but like once you're in
Yeah.
the routine and you start hitting snooze, at least for me, it's
Yeah.
so hard to go back to the. So I am working on that. And then I know this is not off the topic, but a like side trail. This morning I didn't have my alarm turned on. It's set to go off every day, but I was traveling and visiting family, so I had it turned off. But this morning I jolted awake in my bed and it was 4:57 in the morning and I was like, I didn't set my alarm. And so, like, at some point, your body just gets so used to the routine that you jolt awake in the middle of your sleep because you
Yeah.
didn't set your
Yeah.
alarm. But there's your
Yeah.
funny story for the day.
You'll back up your internal backup, a backup alarm. So when you were
Yeah.
writing this story, you made it feel so immersive. Was it difficult for you or did you enjoy writing the world building? Because it's a really unique magic system and it's a very unique idea around how the magic works and how the characters utilize and work with magic.
It was kind of difficult, for me. This was my very first fantasy book had ever tried to write. I wanted to write something different than the books that I had read, so I was combining ideas that I hadn't seen put together before, like glow cars and fantasy and castles. Like those 3
Yeah.
things kind of just you're like, "Well, how do those go together?" But I kind of wanted it steampunk fantasy
Yeah.
a little bit, and it was hard. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But I feel like it laid the groundwork. Like I've been working on a different novel, like aside from Merciless Realms on the side, and my world building has been so much easier because of what I went through with Vesselless.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I liked the vibes that you had of the way the magic systems worked and like the I can't remember exactly what they're called, but the like the guns that you have and they were powered by different other magical things. And I was like, that's so unique. Like, I haven't read that in a book before. I read a lot of fantasy, but I hadn't seen that. And I was like, that's really cool. She's like combining, almost kind of gave me like sci-fi vibes along with fantasy vibes. And I was like, this is really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a couple, moments where I was, like, typing gem guns, and I, like, paused, and I'm like, "Am I being so weird right now?" And then I just continued typing. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm being really weird right now." I just liked it. I felt like I was walking into, like, a new school, and everyone is wearing, like, witch hats, and I have this, like, totally different hat on. I felt really out of place, but I was like, I wanted to play with different elements, so I did.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really great. So
Thanks.
this cover is gorgeous. What was this process like? Did you love the cover when you saw it, or how did that all come about? And the
Uh-huh.
difference between, you doing it yourself and then doing it traditionally.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite the story, the cover. Long story short, I decided to release Vesselless to Kindle Unlimited, like, the same day. Like, I had a scare with an agent who I thought was fake, but she was real. And I was like, to protect my work and get my name on it, I'm just gonna post it to Kindle Unlimited as it was. And so all I had was Canva to make a cover because I had to make a cover for it to do that. And on their like generic pre-made book covers, they had a hand and a snake. And I was like, well,
Hmm.
that works because it just worked for the direction that I wanted the story to go. I felt like there was, Isabel gives Nizara a snake ring and they have a little conversation with that. So I felt like it fit well enough to do the story. So then I posted that and I found out like right before I was just going to use that cover and right before I was going to release physical books to Ingram Spark and all that. I found out that another fantasy author had used the same pre-made Canva cover for their romantasy book. So it was the same genre, and they had just changed the color. It was green instead of gold,
Hmm.
and she had published before me, so I was the one that was like copying her. So I was like, well, I can't do that to her. So I
Yeah.
had a friend who gifted me a cover, and she just kind of imagined the snake in the hand, and that was my indie cover. I have it right here. Do you want me to show you
Yes. I'd love to
the
see
indie
it.
cover? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she just reimagined the hand and the snake and
Oh,
did
that's
like
pretty.
that. And
Yeah.
then so that was gonna be the cover, and it was like the same week I was gonna again release books to the whole world, Ingram Spark, the works. And I signed with an agent and they're like, we want to take you to submissions. And in order to do that, you need to withhold your copies and wait until we go through submissions. So like I made the decision to pause production of this book and cover and then I got offered by Harper Voyager and they provided 2 options for the cover, and one of them had a red background, and it had a gold title, like Vesselless was shimmery
Hmm.
gold, and I loved that title. But I felt like the one that I picked that you have was more catching from a distance because of that white background,
Yeah.
so I went with
Yeah.
that one. So they gave me two to choose from.
It's really cool. It's really pretty. I love the idea of like the snake is
Thank
very
you.
pretty cover. So I wanted to do a couple character confessions. So this is you would answer as if you're your character. So
Okay.
the first one is, what is one thing about them that they'll never admit out loud that you can tell without spoiling things?
Okay, Nazara, something she would
Okay.
never admit out loud is that she likes violence. She likes the dark, and she doesn't wanna like it or bloodshed, but she does.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that. Okay. So for the next one is, when did you realize you were in trouble emotionally?
Is any of my characters?
Any of your characters?
Ugh. Okay, well, for Dagon, he realized he was in trouble emotionally, when he saw Nazara, being kind to his people when he originally thought she was a ruthless, heartless person.
What do you wish people would understand about you that they maybe don't?
Okay, this one is low. And she would want everyone to understand that she is always right, she always wins, and she never makes a bad decision in her life.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I like that. So, will we get to see you out in the wild anywhere? I know I got the privilege of seeing you at Barnes and Noble in LA, but is there any opportunities for people to come out and see you and meet you?
I will be planning a bunch of stops for the release of Merciless. None of them have been determined yet, so but
Okay.
I will be in 2027. There will be lots of places to find me.
Awesome. So follow her, turn the little bell on so you get all of the good details and stuff to know. So I know you can't fully tell us, but will we get any books from you this year, next year? Anything new coming our way?
Merciless is scheduled to release early 2027.
I'm
I'm really
excited.
excited. I'm also really nervous. I made some very big decisions in this book.
It's
Yeah,
like, ooh, what does
but I
that mean?
hope you like it.
I'm sure we
Let me
will.
know your thoughts when you read it. But, like, ARCs will be coming out before then, so it won't be as long of a wait. I'm really excited for
How
the
do we
ARCs.
find out about ARCs? Asking for a friend. Just kidding.
I I will be posting when ARCs go open, and I'll be posting, like, the link and where to apply, and I'm really excited for them. So I will definitely be posting them. Follow on my Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And yeah, we'll get some ARCs out.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm going to be right up there running and filling out.
Thank you.
And I thank you for coming on today and chatting with me. It's just been so much fun. You're going to be an auto-buy author for me after this. I'm so glad my friend recommended me this book.
Well, thank you to you and tell your friend thank you also. Like you definitely made my day when you showed me that bejeweled cover. I was like, holy smokes, she did the whole cover. And that's like a lot of
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah, she's
She's awesome.
amazing. She's a fashion design major and she's done like amazing things. But yeah, so I was like, and then you did that like sweet thing on her birthday. So I thank you for that because you made her day and I wasn't able to be there and see her. So you kind of did it from afar for me and I really appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I love that I was able to. So
Yeah,
but yeah, thank you so much for reading and for inviting me onto your podcast and for all of your support. It means so much more than you'll know. So thank you.
I'm honored. Well, thank you so much. And please send this out to all of your friends so they have their next read. And be sure to follow her so you get the latest and greatest of what she's bringing us. And we'll see you next time as we get another look behind the book.